Hey YouTube, what's going on? ZeroMagnumX here. I have another Monday Night Magic for everybody. It's been long overdue, just because Magic's pretty hot right now. I'm really interested in it. This is a Jeskai deck. It's like a controlled tempo-y deck. Jeskai always behaves strangely, so this deck kind of does the same thing. It's my brew. I was doing a little bit of test playing and trying to find that sweet spot. I looked at Sean McLaren's list as inspiration. If you have premium for StarCityGames.com, I really suggest looking at the article. These are the decks he likes in Standard. Something along the lines of what was the article name. And yeah, that should give you some idea. And we'll just get right to the deck profile. We have 4 of Jace Friend's Prodigy, so we got him right here. I put them in top litters to just keep them protected. 3 Spell Quillers. I need to get another one because the set's brand new. You know, it's brand new. Our FNM is allowing for proxies so people can get the new cards to help out, which is really nice. And then they decrease every FNM until you find your strategy. It also lets people know what cards they want to buy. So it helps everybody financially too. It's pretty nice of our TO to do so. 3 Reflector Mages and Emrakul the Promised End, because what is Jeskai without playing Nahiri the Harbinger and bringing Emrakul to the party? We also play 2 Chandra to help out with the Madness strategy. We have 4 Fiery Temper, so they turn into a Lightning Bolt type card when you discard them off of Jace or Nahiri. We have 2 Declaration in Stones, because Path to Exile is a good card, and this is essentially that card. 2 Radiant Flames. I'm unsure about this card right now. I like a sweeper for Bant Company and a couple of other matches. We'll see how relevant it is. I haven't really tested it yet. But I did take a Jeskai deck at FNM to 3-1, or tied for first or something along those lines. I can't remember which, but it did fairly well. 2 Incendiary Flow. I'm trying this card out. This card's like a more expensive Lightning Bolt, or whatever they were called before. I can't remember them now. But they used to be instants. But this exiles a creature, which can be beneficial in some matchups. Like if they have a Gisela out and they want to curve with Bruna, or recur it with Liliana, because that is a deck now. You can just get rid of it permanently. 2 Clash of Wills. It's the closest thing we have to Mana Link. Or, yeah, Mana Link. I'm thinking of Syncopate. That's why. Mana Leak or Syncopate in our current meta, but it doesn't exile. But it's a curve counterspell, and it's good like turn 2, turn 3, and it's okay later game if they're tapping out for bigger stuff. So its middle game is really bad, but the end game when you have a lot of mana and they're tapping out for big stuff can be pretty okay, and then early game it can be okay. So early game I should say it's really good. 2 Ojutai's Command. This is basically counter and draw a card. Right now it's really good. It gives you a lot of value. Sometimes it can just be gain 4 life, draw a card. Like if they tap out for something, you're just like, okay, I'll gain 4 and draw a card. If it's not a creature, it accelerates you and speeds you through the deck, because Jeskai, the power of the deck is the fact that it can kind of just keep moving through and cycling through the deck. Some decks just like stall out. This deck does everything it can not to, because you're not playing Collected Company to kind of just like look at the top 6 and bury them to the bottom of the deck, maybe grabbing a creature or 2 depending on the situation. You kind of want to be geared toward a strategy that lets you cycle a bunch. And these also help with it to anticipate. We don't have a 1-mana card like Ponder or Serum Visions or anything like that, so this is like the best we have right now. And it digs one deeper than something like Nagging Thoughts. I did have Nagging Thoughts in the deck. This is also instant speed, so I like that a little bit better, because it's not really something they want to do with Spell Quiller, but if they do, like, okay. 1 Collective Defiance. This card's pretty cool. It gets you into a spot, and I'll let you read that. I'll actually just physically move the card up. Collected Defiance is pretty nice because with the escalate cost, it can get you out of bad situations if you're flooding out, or if you're just like, okay, it's like turn 4 and I drew no lands and I have a bunch of weird stuff in my hand. You can just ditch your hand and then draw a new hand. You can screw up your opponent's hand if they like searched for something and added it. And it deals 3 damage to an opponent and 4 damage to a creature. So for 5 mana, you can super loot, deal 4 to a creature and 3 to the opponent. Most of the time, this is probably going to cost you 4 mana and do 2 things. But if you do get in a situation where all 4 options all 3 options are live, it can be really, really powerful. But I like it as a one of. I was testing it a little bit in goldfishing and stuff with it as a 2 of, and it got really clunky actually. So I think 1 is like the right number. The same for this card, Nahiri's Wrath. Lets you discard a bunch of cards and deal X damage, where X is like the converted mana cost of what you discarded. So, and then you choose targets based on how many cards you discarded. So if like this is in your hand and you have like, you know, your 4th Nahiri in your hand or something ridiculous, and you have a bunch of lands and you're in a position where you need a board wipe, you can be like, ditch my 4-drop, you know, ditch like 3 lands or something, just like deal 4 to like 4 separate targets. So it can be a linchpin when it needs to be, or even if you have like a hand stacked of Fire Tempers and just are like sitting at 6 mana and 3 Fire Tempers and Nahiri's Wrath are in your hand, you can just go to town. So for like those weird situations where it's like, well, this was another card, my hand's like useless, you can just like turn it on and make it live for the deck. So it's a tech, but I like it, and that's the foil one I traded for. So not that it's like the foiling or anything. I have regular ones, but I just it looks beautiful as a foil if you ever get the chance to see it. I just really like Nahiri, so she's a cool villain-esque character. And then one Terra, I can't even say it, Terrarion, I don't know. The point of this card is it's 1 mana, and it enters tapped, which is fine. But you sack it and pay 2 mana and tap it, and then you add 2 mana of any combination to your mana pool. When it goes to the graveyard, you get to draw a card. That's important for when we want to cast Emrakul to get our types. Oddly enough, Nahiri can just like find it, even though that's kind of bad because that enters tapped. But if you really needed to get it into the battlefield, you could. For some of the weird, strange plays. So that's the main deck. The lands are pretty simplistic. We have 4 Shivan Reef. I guess we'll zoom out. Sorry about that. 4 Prairie Stream. 2 Fumarole. 2 Needle Spires. 3 Evolving Wilds. 3 Island. 3 Mountain. And 3 Plains. I know that last one's an off artwork because I gotta look through my stuff and find a matching artwork if I have it. Alright, and the sideboard, this is generic. I don't know how solid this is. I just went with what will work, I think, in a generic sense. You always have to tune for your locals, always have to tune for your meta. Sideboards are always different. I normally don't show them, but for this deck I'm going to, just because, like I said, I just always suggest sideboarding for the meta you're in. To Descend Upon the Sinful. I think the card's really stellar versus like the Bruna deck. Black White Angels, whenever they just get Bruna and you just don't have an answer to it because your Declaration Stones do nothing. You just be like, oh yeah, both your pieces are exiled now, you know. We got to the point where you're 7 mana, I'm probably at 7 mana, so let's just get rid of it. No more of that nonsense. 2 Summary Dismissal. This is in particular for Ramp and Ulamog. If you don't have any of that in your local scene or your meta, I wouldn't worry about it. But this is in particular for that matchup. We have a guy who loves Ramp and loves Ulamog, so I'm committing 2 sideboard spots to that because of my local meta. To negate, general good card. Stops collected company, subs opposing planeswalkers. It's just been a staple for the longest time. Non-creature spell, so pretty good. This is respect towards Spellquiller, Avacyn, and all the good blue-white cards for rendering volleys, or rending volleys, sorry. Most of the time, people ran 2 to 3 of this. I'm running 4 now, just because I want a 1-mana answer to Avacyn, to, you know, Spellquiller, to Reflector Mage, because Bant Company is so big. And I know at least 2 of the guys at our local meta will likely be on Bant Company as soon as they can. So, preparation. And black-white regular control decks and things like the Eldrazi deck that just kind of tear my hand apart, this comes in against. They have very few ways to deal with it, and it just allows me to fuel myself while they take damage. So if I want to go like more of the like ultra conservative controlling route, where I'm ditching like, you know, some of my Reflector Mages and stuff, but I'm going to hang on to my Spellquillers as counter spells, these will come in just to kind of mitigate that. And then finally we have 1 Radiant Flames to make a total of 3. Again, this is the sideboard slot and the main deck slot that you can play around with depending on your local meta. This just helps versus the spammy creature decks like mono white humans and all that. And anybody trying to bust out Thalia and just like pressure the opponent back, this helps with that. Same with Rending Volley. So I just tried to round the deck off with certain, like, you know, 1-ofs and 2-ofs using the 75 card space so I can maximize my matchups across the board. And like I said, the sideboard is always up to you. And anyway, I hope you like the deck profile. It's what I came up with. It's my own kind of brew. If you're just like playing meta decks, just play Bant Company. And that's all I'm going to say. But if you like unique decks and you're like, well, I don't really want to use Liliana or spend, you know, the $100 on like a playset or whatever else, this might be a little bit more affordable if you have some of the pieces around. Because, like, you don't need the full art Radiant Flames and stuff, and the full Nahiri's Wrath, so... And if you did, like, manage to pick up Nahiri's, they're not too bad. If you didn't, if you did, awesome, then you got them. But Jace and Nahiri are down in price, and I think by now, most people who would be interested in this video or this strategy probably own both. So, anyway, YouTube, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this deck profile for Monday Night Magic. I know I haven't posted a lot of content lately, but I figured this would be something fun to put up. And thank you for listening to my rambles. And as always, remember to favorite, comment, subscribe, and like this video if you want to see more Magic content. And stay tuned for more. Peace, YouTube, and have a good one. Later.